It's the Sean Widmer Podcast. It's a journal by someone that just really doesn't like to write.
The episode, so nice. I recorded it twice. If you are a keeping up with the Sean Widmer Podcast kind of listener, you'll realize today, when this comes out, it's probably Thursday for you, and we do podcast Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Well, funny story. I'm sorry for the delay on this. I recorded an episode on Tuesday night, late on Tuesday night, and got it all done, got it posted, got the video done, got the video posted, or so I thought. And I to be fair, I had not had the video was not posted yet. The video was not posted, but I had the audio cut, and I thought that I had it all posted and ready to go. And I had early work today, so I head into work, and I couldn't find the podcast. Podcast wasn't working. I was checking to see if it was working. I couldn't find it. And sure enough, I got a text a little later asking Miles. It was Miles. Texted me and said, "Hey, dude, I can't find the podcast." So then I looked, did a little research. I hadn't saved it at all. So I have the video of it with no audio. So if you want that, I can share that. But I just thought, you know what? Let's record it again. Won't be, who knows? Maybe it'll be better the second time. I normally feel like if I try to do a podcast exactly the same, that doesn't work out. So we're going to revisit the topics today. Thank you for your patience. If you are somebody who loves a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I apologize for that. There will be a Friday episode. But this is the Wednesday episode going up a little later. Okay, so let's do it. As always, we kick the podcast off by thanking the people that make it possible, the patrons of the Sean Widmer Podcast over on patreon.com/Sean Widmer Podcast. Thank you for the support over there. That is why this can happen here. So thank you for that. And it was actually really cool. Thanks to one of the patrons, Kirdy Bear on Twitch. She did the trivia. I did the first week of every Tuesday. We're doing trivia for the Patreon members. And I did the first round of trivia, 21 trivia questions spread over 3 rounds. First one released on Tuesday. If you're not a Patreon member, you can become one, get access to that. If you want to know what it is, you can actually go to the Patreon without being a member and catch the first 5 minutes. So I think you can get the whole first round of trivia in. You kind of hear what you think about it. And she did the trivia on her Twitch stream, and it was really fun. It was really fun to watch her do that. And what'd they get? I think her team, Dalton was there, Kirsten was there, Carl was doing it. I'm trying to remember who else she had on her stream with her. But I think they got 11. Kirdy, is that right? 11, which is pretty good. Pretty dang good. It wasn't easy trivia. So that's going to be every Tuesday. Thank you to the people who went on and played it. Thank you to the people who posted their scores. There will be more on that next week. Thank you, Kirdy, for that. I wanted to give a shout out to my nephew, Greyson. Greyson, my man. I don't get enough texts from this guy, right? He's getting older. He's growing up. I just remember him when he's a little tyke, and now he's not a kid anymore. He's a grown man. He said he's about to be, he's an adolescent. Going to be a teenager before we know it. He texted me the other day and said he got college football 25. He's rolling with the Cougs. So he's got his dynasty going with the Cougs, and his dad, one of my best friends, Reed and I, before Reed was dating my sister, I eventually married her, we really bonded over college football. So much so that one weekend when Reed was down at WSU, I drove to Pullman, and we spent the weekend just recruiting in college football, like 2004 or 2005, where we just simulate the entire season. And then we do all the off-season recruiting. At that time, you did the recruiting in the off-season. We do all the recruiting for our team, and then we'd simulate the whole next season, see how our recruits did, and then we do the recruiting again. And we did that for a whole weekend in his little dorm room down there in Pullman. We love this series. So I was glad to see Reed got Greyson college football, so now pass the torch down to the next generation so that Greyson can get all excited about it and be pumped about it. I guess Greyson beat Reed 56-0 in a game. That's a little disappointing, Rito. But we weren't playing the games. We were simulating. So to be fair, Greyson, your dad's forte is recruiting great players to come play at his university. So you may have beat your dad in an actual game, but you haven't stepped into the real octagon yet. And that octagon is simulation football. And your dad being one of the greatest college football recruiters that has ever walked the face of planet Earth. So, Greyson, I know you were bragging to me about that. just hold your horses. When you want, if you can take your dad out in the recruiting world, then I will listen to how great you are at that game. But I loved knowing Gray is excited about college football. I've got a game to play after I record this now. My Buffalo Bulls against Duke. Game's great, guys. Game's great. Love it. Okay, so today's topic, the meat and potatoes, the protein of today's episode is kind of brought to you by a conversation I had at work the other day, mixed with a comment I got where you can go comment at seanslife.com, SEAN, seanslife.com. You can comment questions, concerns, reviews of the podcast, what I messed up on, why you hate it, why you like it, or it can be a plug for whatever you want, whatever. The comments are anything. We read them at the end of the podcast. And Erica had commented with this. She said, "You were wrong to leave Up off your Disney top 5 list. We love when you do any rankings so that we can argue with them. For instance, Chick-fil-A should have been higher on the top 10 fast food list." Okay, first of all, we watched Up in my house just this last week, and it is not one of the top 5 best Disney movies to be released since the year 2000. It's not. My list stands, Erica. I'm sorry. It was good. Up is good. I've said it before. Saddest movie of all time, Up. If you said that, I'm not going to argue with it. It's extremely sad. It's the saddest Disney movie. Well, Fox and the Hound and Up, right? But Up was fine. It's just the whole movie as a whole, it was justified. There's such great moments in it that make, I think, people think that Up's way better than it is because of these big-time, emotional, great moments. But there's a lot of not great fun parts of that movie. I also don't care for the bird. So, whatever. The top 10, the Chick-fil-A thing, that was from a USA Today survey of the top 10 most popular fast food restaurants. And I forget where Chick-fil-A was on that list. Erica, you're 0 for 2 with me. Thank you for listening. I appreciate you listening. You're 0 for 2. Chick-fil-A should be lower, always. Don't tell my wife I said that. Anyways, she had mentioned the list. And so I thought, okay, well, it got my brain thinking about, okay, we need to come up with another top 5 list or a top 10 list. And at work yesterday, we're sitting there at lunch, and I'm talking to my guys, Ian, Derek, Nate, and we're talking video games because I'm old and they're young, and I'm trying to live vicariously through them, and I love my games. And I asked them what video games they wish they could replay again for the very first time. So you just wipe your mind clean of any recollection of the game, and you get to sit down and you get to replay that game again. And I think the answers were Xenoblades, Halo 3 ODST, Assassin's Creed was one of them. There were 3 bad answers. And I was just like, oh yeah, that's great. They're all wrong. They're just like Eric. Apparently I'm just going to be mean today, but they were wrong. Good games. Maybe Xenoblades. I could listen to Xenoblades, but the correct answer for me, by the way, is GTA Vice City. Now, I got to give a shout out to my guy Ian, who I work with. He made it very clear, and this is why his answer is good. You have to consider, like, a lot of times when you look back on, oh, I wish I could relive that experience again for the first time. You're in a different spot in life, and so where I was in life when GTA Vice City came out matters, and I think that kind of affects my thoughts on that. But that game had a lot of hype going into it, and that was a time where the internet was diving into Rockstar's code. There was code leaks, so people were looking into the code, and they were pulling images and words, and they were piecing together like, ooh, this is the name of a car, and what's that car going to look like? And they were going through the code and piecing together spoilers for Vice City. And it was like the internet couldn't get enough of it because we wanted it. And it was really internet being internet, especially with video game coverage. So we would be on some wild websites. Ryan Ferguson and I would be on them looking for GTA Vice City spoilers. Some of them came true. Some of them were ridiculous, but it was awesome. Anyways, I don't want to talk video games. So erase that from your mind. This is not a video game episode. This is a TV show episode. Talking to them about that made me go, okay, well, what could I do with the relive thing? So I want to give you a recommendation. I'm going to give you 5. And I think I'm going to go no particular order on them. But I'm going to give you 5 TV shows that I personally wish I could relive, that I could wipe my brain clean and rewatch these with a fresh slate. So these are the 5 I settled on. Obviously, there's a lot of outliers that could come in and out at any moment. If you ask me this again in 6 months, I might have a completely different answer. Okay? But as for right now, this is the one I want. I will say, I think I left like some comedies off. And the reason for that, like Arrested Development, one of my favorite shows ever, not on the list. Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I think that's the funniest show of all time, not on the list. The Office, so stinking funny, not on the list. Those ones to me are still funny, right? I can rewatch those now, and sure, maybe I would benefit from going back and not knowing anything about Michael Scott and reliving getting to know him. But I almost feel like some of those shows have gotten better the more times I watch them, and so they're not on this list for me. Comedy is tough to have on this list. I will say I have one sitcom on there, and I'm going to call it the Ian rule. Because the guy Ian, who I work with, he mentioned, time and place. The sitcom I have on here is Time and Place. But let's run down 5 of them. Shows I wish I could rewatch for the first time. Maybe you could take these as recommendations for you. Battlestar Galactica is one of the first ones I think of. I love nerdy sci-fi, and I love outer space, right? I love that stuff. And I kind of like a TV show that the quality isn't perfect. And that's Battlestar Galactica. The acting's okay, not always great. I loved Star Trek growing up. I watched The Next Generation growing up. That was the one that was on when I was a kid. And so I love Next Generation. Battlestar Galactica is great. Battlestar Galactica is great. I remember just consuming it so quickly. And I watched it after the whole series was done on TV. And I had access to the DVD box sets. So I had all the DVD box sets, and I just plowed through those things and loved it. So and this is the case with a lot of these, especially the next one as well. Battlestar Galactica and the next show do not land the ship well. No pun intended with Battlestar Galactica. They do not land the ship well. But I think the journey to get to maybe a questionable ending is so great, I would live it all over again. Number 2 on the list for me of mentions, again, no particular order, but it's Lost. Lost, I would love to relive Lost again. So, number 1, Battlestar Galactica. Number 2, Lost. That show, also Time and Place, really got me into the message board community with things like this, where you'd watch an episode of Lost on Wednesday nights on ABC, and then you could jump on the message boards, and everyone who is a diehard for the show was on the message boards making posts of, did you see, if you go to the 7 minutes in, look in the corner, look at this. There's like a piece of artwork that's a bug. What's that mean? That's got to be there for a reason. And then all these theories as to what just that one little screenshot, that one screen cap meant. That show was wild. Plus, Lost, the creators, did a great job of also hiding things on the actual internet during the week. So the message boards would be popping off, and it was almost like the people from ABC were watching the message boards, and all of a sudden there would be like a link that appeared inside the chat, and it went to a legitimate Oceanic website and like that ABC had made, and it was cool. It was like scavenger hunts were happening. Lost. I also really loved the show. Didn't land the ship for me well, but I loved Lost. I would love to watch that again for the first time. It was so good. I think my buddy Dan is watching it right now. He might be at the part where it starts to lose its luster, because I heard about it a lot when he first started watching it, and now I haven't heard from him. Ben Linus, what a character, Ben Linus. Season 1 of 24. Number 3, Season 1 of 24. Oh, man. The first time you get to live through a day with Jack Bauer, that was a great one. That show's been forever, so spoilers coming up right here. Fast forward 20 seconds if you don't want to hear it. His wife at the end of season 1. Excuse me. Anyways, I would love to relive that. I would love to relive that season. I thought it was great TV. And again, they were firing on all cylinders at that point. That show kind of got a little off the rails later on. Even the second season. I like the third season as well. Second and third season were great, but I would love to relive 24. I think a lot of people would agree with me on this one. Number 4 on my list would be Breaking Bad. Breaking Bad, if I could clean the slate of Jesse Pinkman of Walter White, of the squad, and rewatch that for the first time, I think I would be so happy to be blown away, much like Gus Fring, about watching that show. I just loved it. Just like, I know this isn't, I'm not going out there and getting crazy out on a limb like, look at this crazy show that I just thought of that you've never heard of. No, I'm going to play the hits. I loved it, and I would love to watch it again for the first time. Number 5, this is a time and place one for me. How I Met Your Mother. I loved watching that show in order from beginning to end. I loved the story they told inside of that sitcom, but it felt like a sitcom. It was funny. The underlying story was great. Did they land the ship right? Maybe not, but I loved that. How I Met Your Mother was a great experience. I also watched it with friends who are near and dear to me, Andy and Jalen, and I would actually, for a while, I was driving to their house to watch it, which was very fun. I did that with Lost as well. Those were good days. The days where you would drive to someone's house to watch, or you would host a viewing party for a show the night it happened. We did that with Entourage at one of my houses I lived at. We did it with Sopranos, I believe. Now, those were 2 that we downloaded completely illegally off of LimeWire, and then we would have people watch them. That was great fun. But the days of getting together to watch a show were fantastic, and How I Met Your Mother was cool for that. I just thought that was a fun show. I would love to whoa, lost my chair. Where'd my chair go there? How did I drop my chair? Hang on, YouTube. Hang on. Where's my chair thing? What? Did I knock the chair thing? There it is. Ooh. Holy cow. Okay, whatever. I'll fix the chair. My chair just died on me. I need to change it. I'm not going to do it now. So there's the 5. Battlestar Galactica, Lost, Season 1 of 24, Breaking Bad, How I Met Your Mother. Let's wrap this thing up.
Kelly's, what are you into?
Okay, hang on just a second. Getting texts from Brandon about the Buffalo Bulls and Duke. I'm going to get the game in here. Don't worry, Brandon. Kelly's, what are you into? Let's nerd out for a second. I try not to talk about it too much because it's very unattractive to you podcast enjoyers. I have a love for many things in my life. Skateboarding, basketball. I like my TV shows. I like movies. I love my sports. And I love my tabletop role-playing games. I love my tabletop role-playing games. So I try to keep those at bay. All right? But they're sneaking in tonight. If you are somebody who enjoys a podcast that covers the history of something, and I enjoy these kind of podcasts, from the true crime stuff, I like that, to the history of, here's how McDonald's started. I like those podcasts, and the people who put those together at a high level do a lot of fun research, normally get some fun interviews in there that are the quick clips. I really enjoy those kind of podcasts. I hadn't listened to one in a while. Well, I got tipped off to one by a guy I watch on YouTube, Mike Shea, Sly Flourish. And he had said, look, if you have time, listen to the podcast When We Were Wizards. It is the history, a kind of in-depth dive into the history of the rise and fall of the guys who made Dungeons and Dragons, which is, again, maybe something you're not into. I understand that. But this is not about rolling that D20, rolling that D8 for Ray of Frost damage. It's not about that. This is about a now mega million, multi-million, hundreds of millions of dollars business. And the beginning of it, when it was a $0 business, and the man and the guys who created it, and all of the drama that happened in creating this, the rise and fall of an entire company that created it, and all, like guys live like doing sleepovers in tiny houses in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, making no money, making the game that ended up being one of the biggest games in the history of the world. And again, a massive, massive money-making machine. That I feel like I'm going to get to the end of this podcast series and realize all these guys that I'm hearing about have $0 still, and that they made it and got nothing. It's crazy. The story's wild. When We Were Wizards. It's just a really good documentary podcast. I'd highly recommend it, even if it's a subject matter that you're totally against. Okay, let's read some comments that aren't from Erica. Erica, I'm sorry if I offended you. Up, fine movie, sad movie, not a top 5. Ian said this on Sean'sLife.com. A portable battery in case, this is for the backpack. Backpack. A portable battery in case you go somewhere without outlets. $10K at Walmart for like $10. Really? I don't know I don't know the numbers. But $10. I take late night and morning showers. Oh, we're going to talk showers. Don't you dare worry. I take late night and morning showers basically every 12 hours. I could tweak your Discord to get the I could tweak your Discord, my Discord server. I could tweak your Discord to get the trivia questions so listeners can compete live with one another in the event they have no one. Ooh, that might be kind of... Ian, let's talk about that. Lastly, my grandmother knows how you feel about Venezuela. She wanted to take us to Germany, but it's not the same since Funny Mustache Man took it over. She grew up there and she was rising to the... She grew up there, he was rising to power and fled. Yeah, that makes... Yeah. If the Discord thing... I've heard of that guy. That's a sad one. If the Discord thing is something you and others are interested in, let me know. I'll tell you what you need to do. Cheers. Ian, I'll reach out to you about that. Yeah, it was fun. It was the trivia. I enjoy doing the trivia. I hope it's something that people like. Again, you can check that out. It releases every Tuesday on my Patreon. 21 trivia questions, kind of bar trivia style. I think it was fun. I hope it was fun. I had a couple people reach out and say it was good. I know how many people have listened to it so far. And I know that a lot of people didn't reach out to me and say it was good. So we'll see. I'm going to keep doing it. Hopefully it's enjoyable. You can check it out, patreon.com/Sean Widmer podcast. And then this came in off of the Spotify comments. I don't think there was anything on YouTube. Spotify comments said this, and it was from Dylan. I feel personally attacked now for the fact that I shower before bed, LOL. When I get home from work, I go right into dad mode and start the evening-night routine with the family. Typically shower at 10 to 10:30 p.m., then bed. I have thought about showering in the morning, but I'm awake at 3:45 for work, so it's just one less thing to do. But thanks to you, I'm questioning if I'm crusty at work now, LOL. Okay, Dylan, I had so many messages about the shower thing and how gross I am for going to bed dirty. Now, I did a bad job clarifying on Monday's episode, the shower thing. My problem is people who are showering to get clean for the next day before going to bed. So if your shower in the night is to not only clean off that day, but to prep yourself to be clean for the next day, no. And then everyone was explaining to me how they sleep and they don't get they're not greasy at all when they wake up and they're not sweaty at all and they don't stink at all. I'm sorry, you've lived 12 hours, 10 hours in your bed. Dylan, you sleep for like 2 hours. But I think you gotta, let's start with a fresh start to the day. But I will say, I obviously take showers at night or in the evening because I will play basketball. Or when I would get into a big skateboarding kick and I skateboard a lot, I will get real sweaty. Here in Lexington, Kentucky, I just get sweaty breathing. That might be that I'm out of shape by 20 pounds, or it might be that it's really humid. One of the two. But I will wash that off before I go to bed at some point, right? When I get done with basketball, I'm coming home, I'm taking a shower. I'm not just going into bed and I'm like, oh, I'm the dirtiest dude, but I'm going to shower in the morning, okay? A lot of people just jump to that conclusion. No, I'm showering to clean myself off from the day, but that is not my same shower to have me clean to start the next day. Okay. Thank you for listening to the Sean Widmer podcast. I really appreciate it. Have a good one.